Everyone says to you with this concerned look on their face, well, you gotta get a guide. Oh, you have to have a guide. You can't do it without a guide. And me being me, I was like, well, I bet you can do it without a guide. So, thanks to the homeless kids in Kathmandu, I now had my sights set on Mount Everest. But what does that really even mean? I didn't know. I just knew that Mount Everest seemed like the obvious choice for me in what to do next. And in Nepal, you hear a lot of travelers talking about the Everest Base Camp Circuit, or the EBC. They say things like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do the EBC. Or some of them just say, yeah, I came to Nepal to do Everest. So I quickly came to realize that summiting Mount Everest and the Everest Base Camp Circuit are two very different things. I was not going to be summiting Everest. However, you can take a trek between 2 weeks and a month to the base camp of Mount Everest. And it's from the base camp where the actual climbing begins. Up to the base camp is just a very strenuous, uphill, very, very steep 2 weeks non-stop uphill trek through the Khumbu region of the Himalayas. Once you get to base camp, then that's where the actual climbing starts with ropes and all of this stuff. And remember, the summit of Mount Everest is at 29,000 feet. That's as high as a jet airliner flies. The base camp is at 16,000 though, so for the people without the extensive financial means or the desire to summit Mount Everest, the EBC is its own monumental task, its own summit in a way. Now keep in mind, when you're traveling like this, you have no money coming in. So every dime that you are spending is literally like your freedom slipping away from you. You want to spend as little as possible when you're traveling in this way. And because I am traveling in the philosophy of spending as little as possible in every situation, that means that I must forego all of the travel agent places that you see in Kathmandu. They're all offering the EBC as like a complete package. You know, they offer, this package includes the airfare, the accommodations, it includes a guide that is a local person that speaks both your language and the local language, and a porter to carry all of your stuff. So you literally just hike and they take care of everything. The meals that you have at the places, they're all arranged. It's all very nice. It's all a package, but it costs. It definitely costs way more than otherwise. So eventually, I find someone that is willing to just sell me a plane ticket to the starting point, Lukla. Now, in Kathmandu, there is a huge industry of fake shit. Okay, but I didn't understand that at the time. So, in Kathmandu, because there's so much trekking going on, the local people, they make knockoff North Face and Patagonia and Marmot. They make that stuff right there in the back shop, in these little back alley shops. And it is absolutely indistinguishable from the actual product unless you know what you're looking at. The only way you can tell is by the quality of ingredients and craftsmanship. That's the only way, because they use the same logos, the same color patterns. It's gotta be illegal. I mean, some copyright or patent thing. The only thing that's different is, of course, the quality of the materials and the way it's put together. You can tell by feeling it, the down is real heavy feathers, or real big feathers, you know, a real low grade of down. True good down jacket like this one, this actual North Face one, see the logo? This is an actual North Face one, and it's got real soft, fluffy down in it. But the down at the stuff in Kathmandu was felt like it was ripped out of a bird right in the back shop, which it might have been, okay? But that being said, it is pennies on the dollar compared to real North Face stuff. So all these shops are selling these North Face jackets that would otherwise be like $200 and $300 in America, were like $5 and $10. So I was like, what is the deal here? Wow, how fortunate, it's so much cheaper. But of course, alas, it is not cheaper. It is just fake. But there was one shop in Kathmandu that was selling actual North Face stuff, and it was the exact same price as it would be at like the REI in San Francisco, which is, I believe, where I got this many years ago. Yeah, it's a nice jacket. For those trekkers, they know that people don't want to always buy it, so they rent gear. So I rented a nice big knockoff fake down sleeping bag. I rented a nice fake pair of down mittens. I rented a bunch of stuff and got on the plane to go to the world's most dangerous airport, which I did not know until after the fact. That's right, look it up. Lukla. Okay, so so I'm on the plane, the tiny little plane, going to Lukla, which is the starting point for the Everest Base Camp circuit. And we are coming into the airport, and I'm looking out the window, and they say, okay, we'll be landing soon. I'm looking out the window, and we are flying into the side of a mountain. Okay, you don't see, there's no flat spot. We're flying directly at the side of a mountain, it looks like. So I'm looking out the window, it's like, what? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like a little runway appears in a tiny little flat spot that is elevated. It goes up like this. And we hit that runway, and all of a sudden, it slows down. The propellers kick up real high in reverse, and the whole thing, everyone just goes pulled forward, and the stuff falls down and stuff. And he's like, okay, here we are. We've arrived. We landed in like 100 feet. Cinnamon, cardamom, nutmeg, ghee, cinnamon, cardamom, nutmeg, maple syrup, okay, so we land and everyone gets out of the plane, and all the other people on the plane, they've all got someone waiting for them. They've got a nice like Nepali, dressed in nice gear, fake gear of course, but dressed in at least clean, good looking gear. They got a sign, Mr. Smith or Mr. Wang or something like this. And so all the other people on the plane go to their guide and give all their stuff to the porter. Or the porter, they already had it was all already taken care of. And immediately everyone gets whisked away. And there I am, immediately regretting not getting a guide or a porter. Because in Kathmandu, there's so much pressure to, everyone says to you with this concerned look on their face, well, you gotta get a guide. Oh, you have to have a guide. You can't do it without a guide. And me being me, I was like, well, I bet you can do it without a guide. And I don't have the money for a guide anyways. So I'm gonna do it by myself. Now, because there were so many people trying to pressure you about, oh, guide, I'm a guide, my brother's a guide, we're all guides. I thought that there would be a lot of those here as well, and that I would be able to pick and choose a real cheap one. But as it turned out, there's not one. None. So there I am, alone. I have no idea where to go. I'm just here. And then I hear the voice of an Irishman say, "Hey, the trail's this way. You can follow me if you'd like." Ha ha, yeah. So we begin walking, and immediately there is breathtaking mountains, rivers, trees, and stilt houses that don't look too solid at all. That was kind of tripping me out. These super long suspension bridges, longer than I'd ever seen before, like as long as a football field. And you just have to walk across them, and they're all shaking side to side. And the fresh air was just incredible. Because up to that point, any Indian or Nepali city is going to be absolutely immersed in a blanket of smog, primarily diesel exhaust. That because there's not the regulations there, not anywhere. I don't know if there's any regulations there, and the diesel is cut with lesser things, kerosene, and it's all just so disgustingly pollutant that getting out of that for the first time in like 8 months felt awesome. I could breathe. The clean air was just making me feel giddy almost. Yes! Then there was this old man that he was American, and you don't see that many Americans traveling actually. I remember this guy being the first one to really give me praise, I would say, or to really acknowledge that I was doing something useful with my life. He was like, you know, Nate, because we hiked together for a couple of hours. You know, Nate, you're really doing it the right way, because for so many years I thought that I would work and build my business when I was in my youth, and then I would be able to travel and enjoy the spoils of that, the fruit of the labor in my golden years. But I've come to the understanding that the body has other plans. He said something just like that, and I always remembered it. And that was ironic because his knees were bothering him. He had all these aches and pains. He wasn't that old either, but I remember that being very powerful to me at the time, being like, okay, yes, I knew intuitively that I should get out and experience this stuff now, not wait for some questionable period in retirement or something like that. I gotta do it now. Then we come around a corner and you get your first look at Everest. You round this one corner and then bam, there is the summit peak of Mount Everest. The base camp is still 2 weeks away at this point, so it's a long way. So the way it works is like this. You hike all day, and then you stay at these little villages that they have along the way. And these are like local villages. People actually live there, and they farm there, and they've lived there for hundreds of years or even thousands of years. And you hike all day, and then you make it to these village points where they have little guest houses that are just made of stone or real lightweight timber. You know, it feels like you could push them over, some of them. And there's always, well, generally, always a bed available for you, and a pot of tea, of course, and this Indian, or not, this Nepali local dish that they make. And it's pretty much always the same. It's like this type of green. It's like a collard green or a kale or something like this. Then rice, and then stewed yak. Yes. Quite delightful, actually. And in the morning, at all of these places, before you set off for the day, they offer this amazing porridge / oatmeal, which I'm making for us now. And this is what I'm showing you to make in this video. Oatmeal with ghee, cinnamon, cardamom, and nutmeg. And I use maple syrup, but they used honey. That was the only difference. And then I make my own nut milk, and they used yak milk. So, a little bit of modification, but the same principle. It's so power-giving. Now, up to this point, it was some of the most strenuous hiking I'd ever done. Okay, seriously steep, seriously rugged, just non-stop uphill day after day. Cold, sleepless nights because the oxygen is becoming thinner and thinner the higher that we get, although I didn't fully understand this yet. But what was blowing my mind was that I was sitting there and there was other Western people hiking, looking like they were struggling, and they had a porter carrying all their stuff. And then I began to get passed on the trail by these young Sherpas, some of them not young, that were carrying these unbelievable loads. They were carrying supplies for the expeditions. Some of them as frivolous as things like cases of beer. And these guys were carrying this stuff dressed in sandals, a lot of them. In sandals. You looked at their feet and they were cracked and split, but just like hard as leather, you could tell. And these guys, some of them, look at some of these guys were carrying 4x4 boards across this mountain. Some of them straight up carrying rocks, big, heavy ass rocks on their back. And I come to find that these people are making like 50 cents to $3 a day doing this. Let that sink in. Okay, now the porridge is almost ready, so we're gonna wrap this up here pretty soon, but I want to tell you first about the halfway point. You see, there are signs all over the place when you do this trek about AIMS, AIMS, acute or acute altitude mountain sickness. Okay, talking about take it slow, don't go too high too quickly because the air, this and that, and rightfully so, of course. The higher that you get, the less atmospheric pressure there is. So the oxygen molecules in the air expand. So with each breath, you're actually receiving fewer and fewer molecules of oxygen. And so it gives you this effect like you're getting suffocated because you can just never really catch your breath, okay? So, but the body can adjust to this, but it takes time. Now, a normal person would hike up to a certain point and then wait a day or two to acclimatize, hike a little bit higher, wait a day or two, and that's what they recommended. But me, of course, who has always had an astounding level of self-confidence for whatever reason, way overestimated my abilities. And because I saw what the Sherpas were doing, I was like, man, if these guys can do it, I can do it. But in such comic irony or something, the mountain very soon humbled the shit out of me. Here's the nut milk that I make. It's 1 cup of almonds, half cup of dates, and 3 cups of water. Put it in the Vitamixer, blend it up, and it is a delicious, delicious, hearty substance. Oh yeah. Okay, so let me finish this one. All right. Now, I'm hiking for a couple of days and I'm ignoring all the high altitude mountain sickness warnings and all the other people's warnings, and I'm just hiking, trudging along. I left any of the hiking partners, I kind of left them behind and just I'm gonna keep going up, which, okay, that's fine. Until the time comes when you can't catch your breath. You can no longer catch your breath. No matter if you stop and sit, it doesn't matter. You're not catching your breath. All the time, it's like, even after 15, 20 minutes of sitting there, you're just, because with each breath, you're getting less and less oxygen. So I didn't understand any of this. I didn't grow up in the mountains. I grew up in the flatlands, the oceans of corn and soybeans. So I'm continue powering up. Okay, well, I'll be fine. I just gotta find a place to stay. And then all of a sudden I find myself kind of coming to. My mittens are off, my jacket is unzipped, my pack is off, laying over there. I'm sitting alone on some stone, and my eyes are all blurry, and I think I'm coughing up, and I'm thinking there was blood in it. I was either bit my lip or coughing up blood. I don't exactly know. And I just remember thinking, my God, man, this can't be. I can't just fade off into oblivion like I wanted to do. I had the feeling within me, I just need to lay down, and I couldn't catch my breath. And then in a way, I heard my mom's voice in my mind saying, you better get up. And that kind of put the fear in me, because I knew she'd be so pissed if I died right here. You know, that was the first time I really remember thinking something like that in my life. So I'm gonna end it there. Join me next time. Thank you, my